Please turn to page 13, the writing process, plan, talk, and write. In the previous chapter, I discussed how you can integrate writing in all your core subjects. In this chapter, the writing process, I will walk you through the 3 parts of this process that I've coined: plan, talk, and write. And in the plan, talk, and write format, I'll specifically outline how I will integrate direct instruction and all the different steps that you need so that your children will learn the skills of a good writer. Let's look at plan, talk, and write. When we're planning, we always want to think of it as plan and talk. The two go together. And in my lessons, what I have, whether you're writing narratives, informative, explanatory, or opinion writing, I have my stages of writing, which have explicit, direct instruction steps that those students follow in order to write. So the students will follow steps at different stages, and in those steps, they will not only fill out their organizers, but constantly be using academic oral language in order to make their ideas that they're putting on their planners turn into good writing. And incorporated into these steps are all the elements of a good writer. And what I mean by that is children will learn in the steps how to organize their writing with the ideas that are necessary for each specific genre. Integrated in these steps will also be how students will need to learn to write sentences that transition smoothly, sentences that are sophisticated, cohesive, and coherent. And what's really essential about all this is that it's done within this planning process. Another element that will be integrated in this plan and talk process is mechanics. After we organize, put all of our ideas, plan all our sentences, we will go back in something I call punctuation time, and we will actually make sure that students have their capitals, commas, their stops, in other words, periods, exclamation points, or question marks, all put on the organizer so that when they go to write, they actually have all the mechanics in place from their organizer to their writing. The last part of my plan, talk, and write is talking and writing. So notice the talk piece is always present in this writing process. I truly feel that is one of the missing components of writing. And that is that academic oral language rehearsal that children should use constantly while they plan their papers. So they walk through their organizers over and over and over, practicing how it will sound, just like they're writing. And then when they go to write, they're practicing, constantly rehearsing what they're going to write as they write it down. So they keep revisiting their organizer, orally rehearse, go to write, and constantly talk as they write. The talk piece is the missing element in this whole writing process. And what it truly does is help students revise through their whole process of writing. So as they will plan and talk, utilizing steps that will create organizers filled with all the good traits of writing, included mechanics as well. And then finally, when their organizer is filled, they've orally rehearsed it, and it sounds like a good writer, then they will take those ideas and they will actually write them out, continuing with the talk piece. And what does this result in? That revising is done throughout the entire process of writing. And this will also give you constant feedback as a teacher in order to help these students whenever they have trouble with their writing, because you're hearing them tell their ideas. You're hearing these sentences. You're hearing them put it together. And if it doesn't make sense, you can immediately give them that feedback. One other element that happens in the plan, talk, and write process is the slow release of responsibility. And you will see in this process, I have students walking through the steps of how to write any of the genres, using the I, where I will model these steps in front of the students in something I call the teacher write. So daily, I will have a 10-minute period that I will be writing in front of the students, meaning I'm not going to finish a piece of writing in one day. Daily for 10 minutes, I will be using my direct instruction steps and I will be planning out my paper. Or when I'm finished with my plan over several days, I will be talking and writing it out. And then I also will include editing after I've written it all out as well. So students daily will see me in the writing process, planning, talking, and writing, as well as editing and revising once my piece is completed. This will be an element that you should have in your daily instructional components so that your students constantly see the actions of a good writer. The next part of the slow release is the we to the you piece. And that's where together the students and I will walk through these direct instruction steps together, planning out papers, the different types of genres, narrative, informative, explanatory, or opinion, at a designated stage at their grade level. And we will walk through these steps together over and over again. So we may need to write one or many different, let's say, narratives or opinion papers together, meaning that will result in the entire class having a similar piece of writing because we're focusing on the steps, how to write this particular genre. And when you have too many different papers in a room, you no longer can focus on the steps. You're actually running from one student to another, trying to help them one-on-one. So we want to focus on the steps with this whole group. We together are going to write these different types of genres following the direct instruction steps. Then we will get to the you write it with a slow release of responsibility, where I will go to table groups. And now what I will do is once our whole group model of writing, we've gone through several different papers and my students are getting pretty good at the steps, I'm going to release them into table groups. That means mixed ability groups. So I may have anywhere from 4 to 6 different table groups in my room, where together the students are following the steps. So I'm still part of this instruction. I'm walking through the steps and making sure each table group is filling in their organizer, helping each other out as they walk through the steps, and I guide them again, giving them feedback if the table group is having some confusions, but it's no longer a whole group model where we're doing it together. Instead, I may have 4 to 6 different papers going on in the room. It's easy for me to get to 4 to 6 tables because now I may have 4 to 6 narratives being written or opinion papers or informational papers, but I don't have 36 to 38 papers that I'm running around trying to give one-on-one instruction. And the students are working together in the mixed ability, helping each other walk through the steps. The next way that I will slowly release responsibility is children that are in the mixed ability groups, my real high-level students, I will start pulling from those mixed ability groups and I will put them in partners. So notice now when I have partners, I will have like ability. So these will be, at first, my partners will be my high-level students who now have mastered the steps and they can work in partners. But you want to make sure they're like ability because you are releasing responsibility to them. If you have a high with a low, the high will do the work and the low will just copy. This is called slow release of responsibility because they're supposed to be taking responsibility and doing the work on their own with little feedback from me. At the same time, during our writing block or any writing instruction, because remember, I showed writing can be integrated in all core subjects, I may still have table groups. So during this time, I'll have kids who are in partners, who know the steps and they're working in partners, and I'll still have table groups, my medium and slow progressing students. Again, mixed ability, but the highs are no longer with those groups. So now I have partners and mixed ability tables. And later, my partners will eventually be writing independently, and my mediums may be put into partners. But my lows may still be in a table group where I will be their partner. And finally and ultimately, as we are writing, going through the steps over and over again in these different slow release formats, My slow progressing children will eventually be in partners and finally independently writing on their own. In this format, I now will have students who understand and have control over the steps, who know how to plan their papers, who can orally rehearse them, and then finally write on their own. This is the process that we will go through with the plan, talk, and write format. Let's walk through this chapter so that you can visually see all the different parts of this process.